Glim closed his mouth and shook his head. Or a man stepped in some crocodile tracks, he said. There are potions and amulets that let even you gaspers breathe underwater. But he does it all the time. Why would he do that? Help me be sure, Glim. Her friend sibilated a long hiss. Then can we drink your father's wine? If he hasn't drunk it all. Fine. She clapped her hands in delight. Excellent. I know his routine. He won't be back in his lair until nightfall, so we should go now. Lair? Sure. That's what it would be, wouldn't it? A lair? Fine, a lair. Lead on. And know where we are, Anabe thought. They had made their way from the hills of the old Imperial Quarter into the ancient, gangrenous heart of Lilmoth, Pussbottom. Imperials had dwelt here, too, in the early days when the Empire had first imposed its Warhammer architecture on the lizard people of Black Marsh. Now only the desperate and sinister dwelt here, where patrols rarely came, the poorest of the poor, political enemies of the Argonian and Zilil party that now dominated the city, criminals and monsters.
They found the lair easily enough, which turned out to be a livable corner of a manse so ancient the first floor was entirely silted up. What remained was vastly cavernous and rickety, and not that unusual in this part of town. What was odd was that it wasn't full of squatters. There was just the one. He had furnished the place with mostly junk, but there were a few nice chairs and a decent bed. That's about all they got to see before they heard the voices, coming in the same way they had, which was to say the only way. Anabe and Glim were backed up in the corner, and here the walls were stone. The only way to go was up an old staircase and then even farther, using the ancient frame of the house as a ladder. Anabe wondered what sort of wood, if wood it was, could resist decomposition for so long. The wall and floorboards here had been made of something else, and were almost like paper. So they had to take care to stay on the beams. Glim hushed himself. The figures in the group below were gazing up, not at them, but in their vague direction. Anabe took a small vial from the left pocket of her double-breasted jacket, and drank its contents. It tasted a bit like melon, but very bitter. She felt her lungs fill and empty, the elastic pull of her body around her bones. Her heart seemed to be vibrating instead of beating, and the oddest thing was, she couldn't tell if this was fear.